My name is Richard Gober. I live at 26 North Hillside Avenue, and I brought my props with me for the meeting tonight. So I have a couple out on the front lawn. I'll make sure that I take them with me because they're no doubt be considered illegal by somebody or another. Lately, I've found myself quoting Martin Luther King quite a bit. And one of the things that I remember him saying was that he had a dream. I've changed a little bit because the dream I had is happening tonight. Second of all, I have a dream that the residents of this community can live side by side with the politicians of our community and the leaders of our community. And we're very, very, very proud of what you're doing this evening. You've stepped up to the plate. You've made a statement to the New Jersey Senate and the New Jersey Assembly that has been struggling for the last 2.5 years just to get a bill out of the Senate so that they can think about passing it. You've stepped up to the plate and told the Supreme Court very appropriately that they can pound sand, because in this community we're never going to take a person's personal home from them and give it to some builder or developer that's going to profit at their expense. The New Jersey Senate and the Assembly has recently been kicking around something, and they're getting a little bit better. They will never, ever, ever, ever do what you're doing tonight. I will never live at whatever age I live to that we will ever see the Senate and the Assembly pass this, because the League of Municipalities doesn't want them to pass that either. I have a favorite saying, and I've developed a lot of favorite sayings over the last 8 years of my life fighting this issue. And one was that the League of Municipalities has saliva running out of the sides of their mouths with the power given to them of the use of eminent domain. And I'm glad that the Senate, we invited numerous people tonight. We may have a senator or two hiding in the audience here tonight, I'm not sure. But we'll make sure we tell them about it. A little history very quickly. Back in 1999, when we were first told, there was a meeting at the Lafayette School. And at that meeting, I heard over and over and over again, it was a packed house, more people than are here this evening. And I heard over and over and over again a statement: we will only use eminent domain as a last resort. And if I heard that once from the previous administration or other officials in other communities, I've heard it 1,000 times. The redevelopment plan that was introduced here in Ventnor called for a 26-block area, 17 targeted parcels, about 130 houses, I believe it was, with in the neighborhood of 350 families that were going to be displaced. In that bill, or that plan that was presented, it called for, and there was a lot of excitement, by the way, Mayor and Commissioners, there was a lot of excitement about it because redevelopment was an exciting thing until we found out that of 17 parcels, 16 of them called for tear down or remove. Rehabilitation was not an option in our plan here. A very dear friend of mine, deceased, a gentleman named Sidney W. Bookbinder, who lived on Avalon Avenue, by the way, a second resident, was an attorney. I remember him telling me the story that a planner was the person you gave your watch to, and he then told you what time it was. Our planner from Shore-to-Palma came into our community, and when they were invited to this community to determine that we lived in a blighted area, interestingly enough, Mr. Shore of Shore-to-Palma is either currently serving federal prison time or has just recently gotten out. A little bit of corruption, federal corruption on the north, which made me wonder if he was honest in the south. So sometimes we wonder, what came first? Was it the planner that came first, the plan, or was it the developer that came first? I question what happened in this community. We have a great community in Ventnor. There's some fine-tuning that we need. We're honored to know that the three of you aren't going to yell at us. You're not going to chew on your ties. I hope Steve and John can wear a tie just to make sure that we in the audience don't think you have to do that when you're speaking to us. In any event, we're honored to know that you're willing to listen to what we have to say, and there will no doubt be times when some of us disagree with you. And we know that you have the best interests of this community at heart. A couple things. I'm very happy because 9 years ago I met the Benoit family. And I'm very, very honored to say, and I would hope that they might just for a tenth of a second stand up, because the Benoit family has come in force this evening. Mrs. Benoit, at least stand up for the family or raise your hand here. I met Mrs. Benoit when she was 39, and she is older than that right now. But to tell you the truth, she lived through the last 8 to 9 years of her life in a home valued at $600,000 or $700,000 that was targeted to be taken. She moved here, I believe, more or less. I may be using a little hyperbole. My wife's told me how to use that word. What happened is she came here approximately 7 or 8 or 9 years old, was raised here as a child, raised her children here, raising grandchildren here in Ventnor right now, and they will no doubt live the rest of their life in Ventnor, New Jersey. I have goosebumps going up my arms because it was an honor. I used them terribly. They were my poster child. For the people that saw this, we shared an email like this. Over 10,000 were delivered to the gentleman, Mr. Richard Dugas, the president of Pulte Homes, to the point that I got a phone call at a late evening November night that said, Mr. Gober, I want you to be the first to know that we won't put the first shovel into the sands of Ventnor, but you can't tell anybody. Oh, that was a killer. I called Mike Carr immediately and told him. I got off the phone. And what happened is, a week later, he wanted to give the previous administration an opportunity to diplomatically step down from the situation. Pulte had never done redevelopment ever in their life. I had the good fortune of corresponding and eventually speaking to Mr. Pulte, the original person of that company who had been retired. And I had the opportunity to say to him that Pulte Homes made their reputation by building homes for Mr. and Mrs. America and not taking homes away from them. A week after that first phone call, when I was blabbing to a number of people, the Benoits also got a phone call. And what happened is, I then got a call from the gentleman who was a vice president at the time, whose name escapes me, and he said, is there anything you can do to stop these emails from going to Mr. Dugas? Because there were thousands and thousands of them. And what happened is, it always reminds me of another quote that I have to read it though, and that is, Margaret Mead said, don't think that a few good people can't make a difference. They are only ones who have throughout history. So we're very honored to be here tonight. It's a big step. I hope that before you leave tonight, I may get you to autograph my little sign, because I want to deliver it to the governor's office, because he made a pre-election promise. He made a pre-election promise, and that was he was going to pass legislation, I forget the term, probably the solicitor could help me with it, a statement indicating that he was going to stop the abuse of eminent domain and taking people's homes. But unfortunately, like many of the politicians before him, he had a little post-election amnesia. He forgot that he promised the residents of this community. And I feel very comfortable knowing that even though the Atlantic City Press wrote a rather scathing letter to our editorial about the three of you, indicating, be careful with what you're thinking of doing, they almost tempted you to go back on your word. And to tell you the truth, I am very honored that I supported the three of you. And so, in closing, did I hear clapping out there? I had one more saying that I've had the good fortune to say before you before, but we have some new audience tonight. And Martin Luther King also said, free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we're free at last. And you have made us free.